Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of the Terror Talks. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we're going to be talking about Madworld Haunted Attraction. But before we do that, we want to personally thank you for coming and checking out our channel. If you like what we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, like us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Like us on all our social media, and keep up with us as we explore the different haunts throughout the country. So, today we are talking about Madworld Haunted House. This is a haunted house located in Piedmont, South Carolina, and it has been given the reputation of the #1 haunted house in South Carolina. Lots of people say it's the #1. Lots of people say it is the scariest haunted house in South Carolina. If you listened on our episode yesterday, we talked about Nightmare Dungeon. Well, while I was at Nightmare Dungeon, I had several people come up to me and ask me, is this haunted house as good as Madworld? So, with that comparison in mind, I knew we had to investigate Madworld for ourselves. And we're going to dissect all of that. We're going to be talking about all the elements of this haunted house, the praises, the criticisms. We are going to be talking about it all here on the Terror Talks today. When you first arrive at Madworld Haunted Attraction, the first thing that you have to realize is you are going to be there for a very, very long time. Unless, of course, you are loaded with cash and you are willing to shell out that kind of money, you are going to be there for a fair amount of hours. Granted, they are only open for so many of them, but you are going to be standing in line, waiting in a car line, buying your tickets, and then going through the haunted house. You could be there up to 4 to 5 hours. I've heard several people say they've waited about that long just to get inside of this attraction. That's not including the time that you will be waiting in your car to arrive there. That is not including your travel time there. That is not including once you get inside and all the extra amenities that they offer once you get inside. So the first thing that I can advise you to do when you're planning a trip to Madworld and you're looking into this haunted house, be prepared to wait a significant amount of time. We arrived on site there on the evening that we went, and we were backed up on the road for miles, just waiting to get up to what I can only call ground zero of the attraction. There were cops, there were people directing traffic, but it was backed up for miles. You could see this mess from the interstate. Quite honestly, it was a regular shitstorm. That being said, they had a decent enough handle on it, but when you're waiting in that line for as long as you are, it seems like you are never going to make it to this haunted house. I quite frankly considered turning around and saying, you know what, it's just not worth it. But I said, you know what, we want to check it out. We're going to wait it out here. The car part isn't too long. They have their own parking place. They make sure that they have a way to get everybody who wants to park parked. They make sure they have a drop-off point. Not quite sure how this works, being that everything was backed up bumper to bumper, shoulder to shoulder. But somehow or another, they have it worked out. Don't ask me how. I did not get to experience that part of it. So, once you arrive there, you've parked your car. The next thing you got to do is buy your tickets. Well, the ticket line in and of itself is also a regular shit show. It is backed up, going back and forth, a lot of switchbacks, just to buy your tickets. Granted, it's not a lot of switchbacks. It doesn't look like a long line when you get there. But that's just to prep you for what you're going to experience when you get inside. Take my advice. When you go there, if you go there, buy the Speed Pass. It is your only hope. Granted, the Speed Pass is going to do nothing for you while you're waiting in line to buy your ticket, but at the very least, it will alleviate some of the pain and stress of waiting when you get inside the gates of this haunted attraction. So buy the Speed Pass. The Speed Pass is $50. I paid $50 for my Speed Pass, and it was kind of worth it. I can't really say a lot about it. I'm sorry, it was $55. Excuse me on that. General admission is $35, so if you've got that kind of time to kill, pay $35 to come in there and wait for 3 to 4 hours. I personally did not think it was worth it. Once you buy your tickets, you go up to a screen. At this screen, you have to fill out a waiver. Most haunted houses, they can just verbally give you this waiver because this waiver is just simply stating you will not touch the actors will not touch you, you will not use profanity, you will not do anything to get you kicked out, no eating, drinking, smoking, no flash photography, blah, 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 blah. All those logistics that they cover at the beginning of a haunted house, they cover in a little waiver that you have to sign on your phone or on the iPad right outside. I'm going to give a little side note here. These iPads, I personally went up and I signed my signature and all that after the person before me. They are not sanitizing these things before you touch them. You are going one after the other person because there's just that many people. Maybe they are sanitizing, I don't know. So if you are big on the big pandemic stuff that's going on, you're a big no germs type person, I would proceed with caution. They do have an option where you can do it on your phone before you get in the line. So if you have that option, take it. I was not aware of this option beforehand, and so I ended up touching the germy phone that 3 million other people had touched because I did not see any type of sanitization going on. So there's that. Once you get inside the gate, they have created this big spectacle when you arrive there. They've got the giant lights that you can see for miles to tell you, hey, here we are. They've got this giant gateway with this creepy-looking stone gargoyle creature that sits on top of it. Big signs that say Madworld. They market the hell out of this place, y'all. I heard commercials for weeks about this on the radio. We will play their commercial at some point in here just so that you can hear it for yourself. We want to give them the advertisements as well because this is a fair podcast. We're going to give everybody a chance. We're going to advertise everybody equal. Whether we liked it or not, that's totally, that's our opinion. It does not 100% signify each of these places that we visit. We just were not as excited about it as we thought we would be. But anyways, we will get to that much later. When you get inside these gates, there is a giant line in front of this very long building. And there is switchback after switchback, and it looks like some thousands upon thousands of people standing shoulder to shoulder, just waiting. Not moving very much at all because there's that many people, you can't even tell that the line would be moving at all. When I saw that, I knew that these people who said we waited in line for 3 hours were most likely telling the truth. And so luckily, I said, to heck with that, I'm going to buy a speed pass because I don't have time for 3 to 4 hours of waiting in line for something that I don't even know if it's going to be worth it. So, with that being said, I purchased a speed pass. I was able to go into a line right there that had a couple people in it. I got merged with a group of some lovely people my age, some awesome college kids. We had a great time walking through. But we were in and out, I think probably within an hour, if that. It was definitely less time to walk through there, I'm pretty sure. But we were in and out with that fast pass. If you can afford it, I highly recommend the fast pass. Now, be prepared that you may feel once you get inside, you didn't get your money's worth. I know that's how I felt, but that's just me. As I said, don't use this podcast as a 100% judgment of these haunted houses. We are not the all-knowing people. We just have a standard, and this haunted house simply did not meet our standard. One of the other things to notice when you're outside there in what I call the midway, and what most haunted attractions will call the midway, is there are plenty of concessions to go around. You can get something to eat. They've got a escape room type thing that you can participate in. They've got pictures that you can buy from inside the haunt. They've got it all laid out. And best of all, they've got scare actors running around. While I was there, it seemed like they had a fair amount of scare actors just running around scaring different people. So that was a very good thing. That was definitely top marks for me because I know any haunted house I go to, I've got to have my scare actors outside in the midway. Otherwise, it's kind of just like, what are we even here for? Those scare actors really make the difference when you're waiting in line forever and ever. Amen. they make a huge difference in your experience. Even if they scare the same person in line 25 times, it makes a gigantic amount of difference at the end of your night and creates an experience that is unparalleled to others. So they do have that going for them. I'll give them that. Once you get inside of Madworld, the first thing that you are going to do is you get corralled into a little tiny room, and they take a picture of all who are in your group. Me, I was with a group of total strangers. All of a sudden, I'm a part of the group. We're all friends. Hi, I'm Jeremy. Good to meet you. We all took a picture together. Now, these people probably own that picture. It's hanging on their mantle somewhere, and people come to their house and go, who is that strange guy in your picture? And they're like, oh, he's some loser who came by himself. So they take your picture. They do a temperature check on you. They want to make sure that, one, you are not carrying the big C right now. Most of you can read between the lines. You know what that is. You know what I'm talking about. Don't have to elaborate too much on that. But they find a way to screen everybody. So in that regard, they did a very good job of that. They got the temperature checks all in line. And on top of that, you get a free picture. Well, it's not a free picture. You got to pay for it. But you get a picture. So after that, that's where the real fun begins. You have a short little queue on the inside. And then next thing you know, you are off to the races. What I can say about this queue on the inside is it was very unclear where the haunted house started and where the queue line ended. One of the first things, I'm going to kind of give it away because I don't really remember, honestly. The first thing you do when you set foot in there is you step on some sort of elevator contraption that's meant to be an elevator. Honest to God, I don't even think that it moved. I don't even think it vibrated. The doors closed on... Actually, the doors didn't close on the backside. They stayed open, and the doors opened on the other side. And voila, you're magically in this new fairy tale land of horror. So that's the queue line just waiting to get in there. Wasn't overly impressed, honestly. What I will say, what I didn't mention before, is the facade of this place is very interesting looking because it almost looks like a wall, like a... How do you put this? Like a city street wall almost. That's the best thing I can equate it to. It almost looks like a New York wall or something like that, like you're in the city. So they did a very good job with that. They hide the fact that there's a giant building behind it very well, and they do a great job with that. I'm going to give them props for that. However, that one praise does not make up for the entire experience. So, now that we're in the haunted house, let's dive into specifics. So, the scare factor of this haunted house. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I was screaming my whole way through there. I honestly wasn't. I personally wasn't scared. Granted, it's a little tougher to scare me depending on the haunted house I'm going through. But at the same time, if the scare is executed properly, it is very easy to scare me. As we talked about yesterday, Nightmare Dungeon, every time I've gone through there, I have been scared out of my wits. This one, not so much. It had some moments. You know, there were times where, you know, I didn't see something coming, but at the same time, it was almost like I did see it coming because it was that type of room where it's like, yeah, something's about to happen here. I know what's about to happen. I don't know where it's going to come from. So in that regard, yes, I jumped, I got scared. But it wasn't, you know, the scare where I had to go running down the hallway to the next room and abandon my group and say every man for himself. Wouldn't have done that anyways. I had some cute college girls with me, so that was definitely not on the agenda to run away and abandon them, because then I look like the chicken, and then that's just a whole thing. Most of the scares and the actors were not very vocal when they would scare you, honestly. Most of them, when they would jump out at you, they would just kind of stare at you. They might make a slight little hissing noise or something, but really a lot of them were very silent scares. They didn't have a story to them. I was very confused about what some of these people were. Honest to God. You know, they would come out and they'd have some like powdery type makeup on their face. And the best thing I can equate that to is imagine what your children look like on Halloween night when they go out trick-or-treating back in like the 70s, where they would throw on some white makeup and say, hey, look, I'm a ghost. That's the best thing I can put it with, because that's kind of how the makeup was done. It wasn't overly impressive, to be quite honest. That being said, a lot of the haunted houses we've gone to this year haven't been, very high in terms of makeup and costuming. Well, I'll take that back. Costuming has been good. Makeup, not so much, because a lot of the actors in these haunted houses are not wearing makeup anymore because they're wearing masks and they're wearing a whole costume that covers their face. So there's not a whole lot of need for actors anymore, or for masks anymore, for makeup. You guys know what I'm talking about. So that's one thing about it. The makeup just wasn't there. It kind of looked like a kid went in his bedroom and just painted on his face for Halloween night. It's what I looked like back in like 2012 when I was on Halloween night. The actors did not say much about anything when they would scare you. They would really just kind of pop up right in your face, and that was about all you could give them credit for. So that's on the acting side. Like I said, wasn't really a whole lot to it. I can't really give them a whole lot of high marks on that because it just wasn't up to par like it should have been. It almost felt like a really poor community theater that's struggling to stay afloat, sold them a bunch of people and said, hey, good luck, scare the crap out of these people and see what you can do. We're not going to pay you a dime, but do what you can. So that is the scare factor. That's the actors, the skill, the talent. Now let's talk about the set. Parts of the set were actually pretty decent. I'm not going to lie about that. I wouldn't lie about that in any haunted house because this is something that me and my team are we have a keen eye for this. When we go to a haunted house, we are looking for details. We are looking at the set work. We want to see how immersive these guys are going to make these haunts for you because they are trying to put you in the center of their story. Madworld is not a 100% exception to this rule. They had some moments where the sets were very good. What you have to understand about Madworld, it is not just a haunted house that is inside a warehouse like most of your other haunted houses. We talked about Nightmare Dungeon yesterday. They are built in a over 100-year-old farmhouse that's been there over 100 years. Granted, Madworld is not quite like this, but they use the surrounding area to their advantage. Part of the haunted house takes place in a warehouse-style building. I don't know from looking at it how big this building is, how much of it is used for the cast getting ready and makeup, costuming, hair, all that stuff. I don't know how much of it is used for the haunted house. Judging from our trip there, this building is not used very much in the haunted house, and there's not really a whole lot that goes on in there. I think we were in the main building maybe a total of 5 minutes at most, and then they dump you out on a haunted trail out back. Now, what I will say is this. In the building, part of the design that they had was very good. Other parts it was lacking. Now, you have to also remember I'm recalling some of this from a while ago when I went there, so it's not completely clear. But what I do know is I went there and was not, applauding them as I came out the back door of this haunted house. When you get outside to the trail, that is where you can see they are really trying here. Perhaps trying a little bit too hard, or maybe, in my opinion, not trying hard enough. When you get out back onto the haunted trail portion of this, you are going to enter several different scenes. Some of them to recollect are one of them is a pirate ship you go in, one of them is a mine, one of them is a farm. These facades they have built out back on the trail are very convincing. When you walk up to them, you know what you're going into. They have built the facades to the max, so when you get there, you know, oh, this is what I'm going into. So I will give them that. The setup is genius. The setup really pulls you in. When you get inside, I cannot say the same thing for all of it. Some of the insides of these facades were very good. Others were not. I can recall a vast majority of them. It looked like your typical run-of-the-mill backyard haunted house in Grandma Sandy's backyard, where you had the 2x4s set up, you had that black painter's tarp hung on the walls. That was truthfully all I got from there in terms of the inner workings. Now, with that being said, there were other moments where they found ways to make it seem a little bit more like what we were trying to get into here. But for me, it just wasn't enough for me to rank them super high in terms of the set pieces. But they did do a very good job with certain parts of it. And I do have to give them credit for that. Parts of it worked very well. And that's about all I can give them. We will be right back. We're going to take a short little break right here because we're going to give you a chance to have a listen to their commercial and just hear a little bit about Madworld Haunted Attractions. So we'll be right back in a moment. Thank you. All right, we are back on the Terror Talks talking about Madworld Haunted Attractions. When we last left off, we talked about the set design on this place, and we gave you our opinions on that. Up next, we have the special effects. All these haunted houses rely heavily on special effects nowadays. Madworld is no exception to the rule. One of the first things you have to know is obviously Madworld has fog. What is a haunted house without fog machines? It's practically nothing. Another thing you got to know about Madworld, it has lights. Very good use of the lighting as well. They figure out how to create a decent ambiance with each little scene. Finally, they use fire in their haunted attractions. There's one scene that pops out to me, and I will tell you what happens. I won't tell you where it happens in case you happen to go there. But you walk up on a particular scene, and all of a sudden, this giant fire shoots straight up in the air, probably 20 feet high or so. That might be a bit of exaggeration, maybe more like 10 feet. I don't know. But they have a good use of these special effects. They have a handle on them, and I think, personally, they may be relying too much on them. I feel as though they may think that these special effects are going to help them in those tight corners where they have clearly cut. They have a couple nice special effects in there. I don't remember all of them verbatim, but there are a few good ones like sharks and things like that, dragons, like big animatronics and such. So they are very, very good with that. They have that part down to a science. At the very end of the haunted house, all I will tell you is you walk into a room that is completely filled with fog and bright white light. And you cannot see anything. In fact, when I went through with my group, at one point, I ended up stopping and headbutting the poor girl behind me. And I felt awful about it afterwards. Kind of blame Madworld for that because their actor literally came right in front of me, inches from my face. So you can't really blame me for abruptly stopping, but I could have probably held my head a little bit better and not slammed her in the mouth. Luckily, I don't think anybody was hurt. But in terms of special effects, these guys really know what they're doing. They have a good handle on things. They definitely have it figured out. The length of this haunted house. As I said before, the indoor portion is very, very short. You get through that a lot faster than I think many expect you to. But from what I heard, a lot of people say was the outdoor haunted trail portion was much better than the indoor portion anyways. So I wasn't completely upset when I got to the outdoor part. And another part of that is because I don't usually get to go on haunted trails. So I was kind of looking forward to that part. But all in all, the length of this attraction, I wouldn't say that it is anything spectacular. We have been to several other haunted houses. One of them you're going to hear about coming up pretty soon is Netherworld Haunted House in Atlanta. Another one you're going to hear about is Creepy Hollow, and that's up in Bishopsville, South Carolina, and that was a great drastic length as well. Another one you're going to hear about is Deceased Farm, also another one with a good length. This one didn't have the best length that it could have had. I arrived there roughly around 8:30. I was leaving there at about 9:30. So even with the speed pass, which, yes, that dumps you right inside the haunted house, it still was less than an hour-long journey through that haunted house. Because when I got there, I still had to wait to go in. We had to take the picture, and we had to go through the little tiny funnel of a line that we had to walk through. That being said, I wouldn't say that this is the best haunted house lengthwise. It's a little short for my taste. I would say it's probably average, maybe a hair under average. Like, it's right there in that average kind of place where if it was a little longer, I could probably give it some better props. And if it was a little shorter and wasn't such a big spectacle, I could definitely give it better props because of the way they've marketed themselves. They make them seem like they are all that. And that's where I have a little bit of a problem. Because if you're going to market yourself as being all that, you need to be all that. We personally were not as scared as we could have been when we got there. It wasn't an overall great experience for us compared to what we had heard. We heard from a lot of people, lots and lots and lots of people, compared this place to every other haunted house. Or compared other haunted houses to this place. They would always say, have you been to Madworld? Have you been to Madworld? Is this scarier than Madworld? Is Madworld scarier than this? Is Madworld better than this? You get 5,000,001 questions, always drawing back to Madworld. This is because they advertise the hell out of themselves, and they milk it. They milk it like nobody else. And I'm here to tell you, I personally do not feel that this is the number one haunted house in the South. I feel like that has been sugar-coated a little bit. I feel like the finite details have been glossed over. With that being said, I'm not telling you that you should absolutely not go. If you feel like this is something that you and the family may enjoy, go for it. I am not going to tell you not to. Don't use our review as the bylaws of haunted houses because we don't know everything. We have our opinions, and that's what makes us unique. We're not going to force you and say, hey, don't go to this haunted house. It absolutely sucked. We're going to tell you, we went, this was our experience, this is how we felt about it. We're going to have some that we absolutely love, and we're going to recommend that you go the very next possible second that you can. And some of them, we are not going to say that. Some of them, there's just no words that can possibly sum up these haunted houses. Some of them are going to be drastically negative. This, unfortunately for us, was one of those ones. We spent an adequate amount of money to get through there quickly, and we just didn't feel like it was worth the money. That being said, we are going to go over the prices with you of it in case you want to hear those and just kind of get a gauge on where these guys are with their haunted house, what they value their haunted house at, basically. This is basically what we can tell you. So if you're looking to go to Madworld, a general admission ticket is $35. This is typical of most of your haunted houses. Last night we talked about Nightmare Dungeon. That's about $32, I think, roughly. You'll hear us talk about several other haunted houses. There's one, Netherworld. We talk about that later. That'll be $35 as well. You know, it's a pretty routine ticket price to get into a haunted house for general admission. Right in that $30 range. Anything over 30, once you start getting up 40, 50 for general admission, well, you might want to just not go to the haunted house at all because that's just a little bit pricey. And unless they're like literally going to kill me in there, I don't really want to go. So that's general admission. Now, when you go there, you have an option to get the Scaredy Cat ticket. What the Scaredy Cat ticket is a $5 bonus ticket. So general admission is $35. Scaredy Cat is $40. What you get with the Scaredy Cat ticket is the No Scare Medallion. What the No Scare Medallion does is when you go through the haunted house with your group, the actors will not target you and make you the center of their scares. Every haunted house I go through, I almost always go through by myself if I can. If I go through with a group, I'm always at the front. I am always the one who's targeted, and they are always trying to scare the living crap out of me. That being said, with the No Scare Medallion and the Scaredy Cat ticket, you basically get off the hook from that. They're not going to target you, and they are not going to scare you nearly as bad or at all, I think, really. And so because of that, that is $40. That's an extra $5 from your general admission ticket. Then we have what I got, which was the Fast Pass. Fast Pass is $55. Fast Pass is literally what it sounds like. You get into a separate line from the general admission people. You hop in line. You're in the haunted house in probably 5 to 10 minutes at the most. You're in there. You're out of there. You get it done. You get her done. Then we have the Scary Night Out, which is also $55. I may have to go back and check this. It might be $65. I'm not sure. Check online. If any of our numbers are wrong, please comment in the comment section and let us know. We are not right about everything, but we try to make sure we have all our information as correct as possible. But the Scary Night Out, what do you get with that? You get the Fast Pass into the haunted house, and you get 30 carnival tickets. What do these 30 carnival tickets do? They have some different games that you can play when you get there. These carnival tickets give you a chance to play these games. While we were there, did we participate? Did we partake? No, because quite frankly, we were just trying to get the hell out of Dodge. We did not care for this place at all. A child's ticket is $30. So $5 less than general admission. General admission is $35. A child's ticket is $30. The child's superhero ticket is $35. So it's the same as general admission, but what you get with a child superhero ticket is you get the No Scare Medallion. So basically, this is the Scaredy Cat version for children. And we've already explained what the No Scare Medallion does. You will be safe. You won't be targeted. Then you have the VIP ticket pass. Here's what this does. You get 30 carnival tickets. You get a behind-the-scenes tour of Madworld. You get a 3D photo. And, of course, you get the Speed Pass. Anything at this point that we're going to talk about, you are going to get the Speed Pass with it because they're going to be trying to get you through this place quickly. Then you have a Season Pass. This gets you in here numerous times throughout the season. You can go for the rest of the season that they're opened with that Season Pass. You will not have to purchase a ticket when you arrive. You will not have to do anything extra. You arrive, you get in your line, you say, hey, I'm a Season Pass holder. This is $175. $175 for a Season Pass to this haunted house. If you ask me, I don't think that it is worth it. If you buy it, great on you. You must love going through it. But I just don't think that this is a haunted house that is worth going through several times. Once you've seen it once, you've seen it. Finally, we have the Super Pass. What is the Super Pass? The Super Pass is literally a Season Pass, but for the Fast Pass people. So you get there, instead of getting in general admission line, you're going to hop in the Fast Pass line because you have the Super Pass. And so that means you can go every single day for the rest of the season and hop in the Fast Pass line and just get on through there. This is $299. $95 for the Super Pass. That is a bit much if you ask me. I can't think of many people who would spend that type of money to speed their way through a haunted house multiple times a year. That is an insane amount of money for a haunted house that really and quite truthfully does not offer much. So those are your ticket prices. You can go. There's a few other ones you can buy, carnival tickets, and you go online and check those out. We didn't bother listing those just because they're just random things. We didn't really cover that. We didn't really care to cover that. The nights that Madworld is open, they are open from Thursdays through Sundays. And the times, the hours are from 7 to 10:30 p.m. on select days and 7 to midnight on select days. Go on their website, and you can just find out what days that you're planning on going or what day you're planning on going, and it will have it highlighted in a certain color on the day that you pick. It's going to tell you, hey, we're open till 10:30, or hey, we're open till midnight. I want to say Fridays and Saturdays are typically until midnight. I think for the rest of the October month, it goes till midnight, but don't quote me on that. Check out their website to be more concrete about that. Now, in terms of the Big C, the big pandemic we're all going through, this is no secret to anybody. We're not going to say the name of it just because I'm tired of hearing the name of it. But on top of that, a lot of people I've heard have gotten flagged, marked, taken down because they said the name of it. So we're not going to say we're just going to call it the Big C. They're taking precautionary measures for the Big C. Here's what they are. There is a temp screening for all patrons, all the guests, all the workers. Everybody is getting temperature scanned. There is sanitizer literally all over this place. They will have hand sanitizer you can wash your hands up with and make sure that you are not spreading the Big C. They have social distancing in the haunted houses. Now, granted, what I will say is in a haunted house, this is absolutely difficult and almost damn near impossible to do. Social distancing in a haunted house is not easy. You might think it is because you might think, well, the monsters, the actors, can push the next group on through to make sure that distance gets maintained. It's not always that easy. Sometimes you have a girl who literally falls to the floor and cowers. One of my exes did that when we went through a haunted house. She fell to the floor on her knees and wouldn't move and held the group up. I had to help her to her feet. Pushing people through and social distancing is not an easy thing to do in these haunts. However, they try their best to do it. They send you through in a group of, I think they try to go 4 to 6. The max they will do is 8, and they do allow for some great time between the two groups to ensure that you are not tail-ending the next group in front of you, which, in our case, that definitely did not happen because I didn't hit the head of a group in front of me. I ran into an actor, and then you know the story. Finally, I think the most important thing about the Big C precautions is the masks, the masks, the masks. Every haunted house you go to is going to be different this year in terms of masks. Obviously, I think at this point, many of you have already seen what type of precautionary measures are being taken because at this point, we are almost all the way through October, but that does not stop us from doing what we do here. Masks at Madworld are not required. They are optional. I will firmly say, and I will proudly say, I went through and I didn't wear the mask. There was one point I wore the mask, and that was at a point where you walked into a scene and it smelled like straight up shit. It was horrible. Good use on the workers, on the management for using that scented special effect, but it smelled absolutely horrible. So I had to put the mask on there or else I was going to throw up. Other than that, masks are not required in this place. The people in my group, they did not wear masks. Well, I take that back. They wore masks. They were kind of off and on the whole time. But for the most part, they were not wearing masks. With that being said, use your best judgment. If you feel comfortable coming out without one, come out with that one. If you feel like you need to wear one, that is your right. Nobody is going to chastise you for that. So that is Madworld for you guys. Madworld Haunted Attractions. This haunted house, we can't really put it up in the top 3 for our haunted houses this year. We really don't feel like it was up in the top 3, but we're going to cover that later on this season when we break down our top 10 haunted houses for the 2020 season. With that being said, we've only been to about 10 haunted houses, but still, it's fine. We can do a top 10 with only 10. That's all we need. But we will break it down for you a little bit later. If you get a chance, go check out Madworld. Go check out any haunted house. Whatever haunted house is up the road from you, if it's a little kid's haunted house he's putting on in his backyard for the first time, go support it. These guys love what they do. They have a good time, and they are going out of their way to present a amazing show for you, basically, because that's what a haunted house is. It's a big show for you guys. It's a big show for us, the people who are willing to throw money at them and say, here, scare the crap out of me again. So if you get a chance, check them out. Don't use every word we say as full law and order, because we're not right about everything. It is merely an opinion. This is an opinionated podcast. Every haunted house we talk about on here, we are going to talk absolute shit about it, but then we are also going to give them some high praises. Some of them, more so than others, will be more bashed. Some of them will be raised a lot higher than others. That is the nature of this. So be sure to check these haunted houses out. We will have the link to Madworld in the description. We will have their website. We will have their address, Facebook, Twitter, all their social media accounts. We will have our social media accounts and all that fun stuff. Feel free to contact us if you had a problem with what we did today. If you felt that we falsely reviewed this haunted house, let us know. DM us. We'd love to talk to you and just kind of, get the ball rolling and see what you thought. If you have an experience at Madworld you'd like to share with us, by all means, share it with us. We'd love to feature you on the show. If you have pictures, if you have a memory, if you worked there, and you have something you want to share, DM us, comment, let us know. We will reach out to you. You can reach out to us. We love what we do here, and we love to feature other people on here as well. So if you like what we do, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment button, like our social medias, check out these haunted houses. This has been the Terror Talks, and my name is Jeremy. We'll see you next time.